These green hills are the face of the modern European Alps, a pristine, safe destination for millions of tourists. But high above the treeline, that hospitality vanishes. The terrain breaks into jagged limestone crevices that plunge into total darkness. For centuries, those who navigated these vertical drops reported a persistent predator hiding in the fissures, the Tatzelwurm, or clawed worm. To the early Alpine shepherds, the creature was a grounded biological hazard. They documented it as a territorial beast that made high-altitude grazing a lethal gamble. The front half resembles a mountain cat. It possesses muscular shoulders, forward-facing predatory eyes, and a jaw capable of delivering a toxic, necrotic bite. Its anatomy then shifts. Lacking hind legs, the feline torso fuses into a massive, scaled snaketail, allowing the creature to launch itself across rocky gaps or slither backward into tight mountain crevices. This hybrid build creates a predator perfectly adapted for the vertical extremes of the limestone ridges. The oldest deeply entrenched records of the Tatzelwurm date back to 1779, found in the accounts of rural Austrian farmers. A forager named Hans Fuchs was navigating the high passes when he was ambushed by two hissing cat-headed serpents. Fuchs managed to escape the immediate attack and return to his village, but he died shortly after from a sudden heart attack. Local records suggest the fatal trigger was the sheer shock of the encounter, potentially worsened by the inhalation of the creature's reputed toxic breath. Fuchs's detailed description of the chimeras cemented the Tatzelwurm's place in Austrian historical logs as a catalogued mountain predator. This 19th-century illustration shows how mountaineering shifted from peasant foraging into a formalized profession for the affluent. As guides began to map the peaks, they encountered physical evidence of the creature, most notably during an incident in the Bernese Alps in 1828. A peasant discovered a deceased Tatzelwurm and prodded the carcass with a wooden stick. The wood inexplicably blackened upon contact. To early climbers, this blackened wood served as forensic proof of the creature's lingering corrosive biology. Professional Swiss and Bavarian guides began officially logging these sightings to protect their clients. By warning climbers to avoid specific cave networks, these guides treated the clawed serpent as a standard safety consideration for anyone crossing the high peaks. In the modern era, the hunt for the Tatzelwurm has moved beyond the diaries of shepherds. Today, subterranean biologists and mapping teams are deploying to the Bavarian Alps with specialized equipment. This station shows the current approach, anchoring remote seismic monitoring grids to sheer rock faces to track anomalous biological signatures. The goal is to replace anecdotal sightings with measurable, quantifiable data captured by these metallic sensors. The legend of the Tatzelwurm has become a target for advanced biological surveillance. The centuries of reports suggest that this folklore didn't emerge from a vacuum. The persistence of the Tatzelwurm legend highlights the limits of our heavily mapped world. It is a reminder that hostile, vertical environments can still conceal predators perfectly adapted to hide from us. We are finally using the tools of modern science to find the truth that has guarded the Alpine passes for centuries. We see the European Alps as a safe, explored environment, but beneath the resorts lies a network of geological features completely closed to the public. Modern satellites cannot map these deep limestone fractures. They form a massive, vertical labyrinth that is almost entirely undocumented by surface surveys. For centuries, local communities have warned of an inhabitant hiding in these gaps. They describe the Tatzelwurm, a heavy, clawed worm that actively hunts in the steep, impassable rock walls, where livestock and climbers occasionally go missing. Skeptics frequently attribute these stories to altitude-induced hypoxia. However, the consistency of the reports suggest these may be field observations of an apex predator adapted to an environment humans struggle to access. In 1934, the creature moved from local folklore into the historical record near the Swiss village of Meiringen. A photographer named Balkin was exploring the area when he encountered a creature resting near a rotting stump. According to his account, it hissed aggressively before retreating into a narrow rock crack. Balkin captured a photograph before the animal vanished. The image triggered a widespread media event across Europe, appearing in major publications like the Berliner Illustrierte Zeitung. The photograph shows a thick, serpentine body with a blunt facial structure, having a distinct snaggletooth jaw and heavy brow associated with felines or badgers. 20 years later, in 1954, a dense wave of similar encounters was reported along the border of Italy and Switzerland. Multiple farmers in the Tresivio region reported being stalked by a hostile, piglet-sized beast. They described an animal with the head and front legs of a cat, fused to a legless tail that would snap at their livestock. Despite the concentration of reports, authorities dismissed the sightings as mass hysteria or misidentified marmots. By labeling the encounters this way, the potential for a formal biological investigation was lost for decades. Modern field investigations are now led by subterranean biologists and cave explorers using equipment designed for the extreme vertical. During an expedition in the Bavarian Alps, a climbing team was anchoring a limestone chimney 8,000 feet up when they found an unusual biological artifact. Snagged on the rocks was a massive, intact biological shed. The lower skin possessed the scaled keratin structure of a heavy constrictor snake. However, the upper portion was inexplicably fused with the coarse guard hairs of a high-altitude feline. Finding feline hair and reptilian scales on a single piece of organic tissue complicates the misidentified marmot theory. It suggests a single organism possessing both traits, as the two materials are physically integrated. Recently, an environmental mapping team surveyed a deep fissure system in the Swiss Alps to test for unclassified DNA. They lowered a high-resolution 4K fiber optic camera into a vertical tunnel that was too narrow for a human explorer to enter. Deep inside the crevice, the camera illuminated a 5-foot-long organism. The footage captures feline-like front claws pressing firmly against the sheer limestone walls for stability, while its heavy, scaled serpentine tail whips around defensively. An environmental DNA swab taken from the crevice entrance yielded a genetic sequence where distinct reptilian markers are integrated with an unclassified feline lineage. This combination of high-resolution visual evidence and matching genetic markers moves the Tatzelwurm into the documented biological record of the Alps. For decades, the central question was whether the Tatzelwurm existed outside of folklore. Traditional skepticism favored known animals like marmots, but the recovery of feline-serpent biological sheds and matching DNA evidence provides a different conclusion. This organism has avoided classification by occupying the most inaccessible vertical extremes of Europe, areas where human observation is rarely possible. Subterranean biologists are now finding that mapping these mountains also involves charting the habitats of unclassified predators. The high peaks remain largely uncharted from the inside out, reminding us that apex predators still exist just beyond the reach of our surveys.